All right, time now for Big O's highs. And coming off a victory, we have a longer list than usual.
How about this, Sandy? The offensive line in the passing game, 0 sacks, 0 penalties.
Have we seen that this year?
I
A
do
0 sack, 0 penalty game from the offensive line.
I don't think so. But I definitely had it on there. And then my next high is Drew Lock, the audible at the line of scrimmage. You know, the audible in the huddle to Cortland Sutton, changing that route up.
Yeah.
You know, this is something that you got to be excited about if you're in Bronco country, because remember a couple weeks ago, not too long ago, when the Broncos played against the Kansas City Chiefs, and it was a blitz fest, and it looked like Joe Flacco, the quarterback that was anointed by John Elway, that he's in his prime.
Yeah.
He could not audible out of anything. He could not put his team in a better position to now go out there and succeed. He wasn't doing a lot from the line of scrimmage. And for Drew Lock to come in yesterday and be able to do that, that's a great sign of things to come moving forward. The game wasn't too big for Drew Lock, and he settled down quick too. You know, when in that first drive, you're seeing the overthrows, you're seeing the ball come out hot early in the game, but he was able to settle down. So Drew Lock is definitely on my highs list today.
I thought yesterday that he came with the right attitude, not one of entitlement, not one of it's about time they gave me my shot. He was eligible to start a game a month ago. The Broncos waited and waited and waited and never really made an official announcement that he was starting. I liked him after the game, too. He was asked about the Brandon McManus deal at the end of the first half, and he kind of laughed at that, as if he kind of liked it in some ways. So he seems engaged in the game, and I thought on a day in which not all that many players were into it, he was into it.
No.
Understandably so, but I think it deserves mention.
I agree. Another one, Cortland Sutton. 5 targets, 4 catches,
Absolutely.
74 yards,
Absolutely.
2 touchdowns, drawing that huge passing interference call. And I thought Cortland came up big for his quarterback. He knew that, hey, we got Drew Lock in there. It's a young guy. It's his first start. And it didn't matter that Cortland was going against their best corner and Casey Howard. He said that I'm going to make sure that I get it done. I'm going to make sure that I'm available, but I'm also going to make sure that I'm not a 50-50 guy in today's game. You know, the targets that I do get, which he knew that he wasn't going to get a lot, he made sure that he was able to capitalize for his quarterback.
Well, I couldn't believe that the Chargers didn't have him bracketed on that last play, but maybe they were surprised that the Broncos went for it too. And I'm looking at the final numbers here for Sutton, and he was only targeted 5 times in the game. Caught 4 passes out of 5 targets for 74 yards, a couple of touchdowns, averaged 18.5 yards per catch with a long gain of 33. The Broncos didn't have a pass play longer than 11 yards, and that was from Beck, apart from the 33-yarder that Sutton caught, and the 4 passes for 74 yards. Broncos didn't get a lot of other players contributing in the receiving game. So he really stood out again. Oh. And you know that other teams by now have to believe that he's the only threatening guy, and he's still making big plays.
Yeah, absolutely. Another guy, Derek Wolfe, yesterday. You talk about, look at those 2 sacks that he has. Derek Wolfe has 7 sacks in the last 6 games for a career high. This is 6 games, and you know that he's been battling injuries. He hasn't been able to finish out games, but he has 7 sacks and leads this team right now and has a career high. So that's another one of my highs yesterday as well. McManus yesterday, 2 50-plus yard field goals. That's not an easy thing to do. You're playing in the cold. You're out there on the sidelines, and for him to come in there and knock it down, I love that about him. And before the game winner when he just kicks it and they called it back or the timeout was called or whatever.
And he boinked it off the upright.
But I love that he still went through it. And you talk about it after the game and you hear him say, hey, these are situations that we practice all the time in practice. When the guys are outside, we'll go in the bubble and we'll practice on the indoor field. And everybody understands Wadman and him. They understand that even if they blow the whistle dead, hey, snap the ball. Let me get a practice kick in. And I love that he followed through in the game and was able to do that.
I give him a high for honesty after the game because he made no pretense at wanting to break a record. He knew the record was 64 yards by Matt Prater back in 2013 against Tennessee. He knew what the record was. He had a chance for a 65-yarder. It looked like the Broncos were going to give him that chance, then they didn't. Then it looked like they would again, and then they didn't. And finally they took a delay of game penalty. It was a complete cluster, at the end of the first half for the Broncos. I liked his moxie. I liked the fact that he got angry, and it reminded me a little bit of Flacco, except in a more positive sense, when he expressed his feelings and then went out before the start of the third quarter, put the ball on a tee from 65 yards out, and boomed it right between the uprights, and was asked, were you showing up the coaching staff? And he said, with good humor, you bet I was. They thought I couldn't make it.
Oh.
I showed them I could.
Yeah, well, good for him. Another guy, A.J. Johnson, 9 tackles yesterday, two tackles for a loss. He had a heck of a play on Austin Eckler in the backfield that if he doesn't tackle him right there, Austin Eckler is certainly going to get the first down. And A.J. Johnson was doing this all with a bum knee yesterday. And that he was hurting. He looked different. Not only did he have the brace, he had the tape job underneath the brace. Yeah. So you could tell that knee is nowhere near 100%. It's probably, if I had to guess, around 60%. And he was able to be successful yesterday with the 9 tackles. But I also love his little raptor dance or whatever that is. Got to throw that in there too because I love when he does it.
The dinosaur man.
Yep.
Or the raptor man. Whatever. I love the Vic veto at the end of the game. And I know that there are mixed reports as to the accuracy of that story that came out a few weeks ago. And if it's true that Vic Fangio gets upset with Rich Scangarello's play calling, well, get in line.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if he'd be at the front of the line or the back of the line, but he would have to get in line.
Oh.
And I don't know how any fan who has criticized Rich Scangarello can say, well, I can criticize him, but I don't want the head coach first guessing, second guessing, third guessing, or whatever. Well, and I like the fact that he vetoed maybe not just Scangarello, but other members of the coaching staff at the end of the game and said, no, we're going to throw it. We're not playing for overtime.
Yeah, let's be aggressive. And you didn't let me finish, but I had Draymond Jones, the interception, and then I was going to go to the Vic veto, but you jumped right into it.
Preempted the Vic veto. I thought you were done.
No, absolutely love the play call. You got to be aggressive in that situation. What do you have to lose? It's just like when you look at Joe Flacco after that Indianapolis game. It's a bad football team. You haven't won a ton of football games, so you have nothing to lose. Just go out there and throw it on the line. Don't play for overtime and whenever a coach plays for overtime, I'm just like, man, you're playing to lose this game. Why play for overtime when now you could take a shot? And you got Cortland Sutton, who has drawn so many passing interference this year on other defenders that you just throw it up and give them an opportunity. And that's what they did yesterday. And I thought it was really aggressive of them. And I love that they did that. And I hope they stay aggressive as well. And my last one, because we jumped over, was the Draymond Jones. Not only did he get the interception, but how about the 7-yard return for the big fella?
You would appreciate that more than I would, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a play.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's a bright spot this year. I think he's a player. And we talk about Bronco draft picks not setting the world on fire. Juwan Winfrey can't even get dressed for the games. I don't get that one.
Yeah.
Here's Deshaun Hamilton dropping passes left and right, including a key one yesterday. And Juwan Winfrey can't dress out for the games?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Deshaun Hamilton is catching passes in traffic, getting hit, and then I guess because of the 2 ones that he got hit earlier in the game, then when you get a wide open one where you might bump your head on the goalpost, that's when you all of a sudden hear footsteps and drop the football.
Ghosts? What ghosts?